High in the northern highlands of Ethiopia, where clouds drift low over mountains carved by wind and memory, there once rose a city unlike any other in Africa. A city of stone obelisks and sacred kings, where faith and empire intertwined beneath the blazing sun. From these rugged heights, Axum watched the world, its heart pulsing with trade, power, and devotion. Across the Red Sea, its ships sailed with the monsoon winds, their prows cutting through waters that carried gold, ivory, and belief itself. From the mountains of Africa to the sands of southern Arabia, Axum's reach was vast, a bridge between continents, a kingdom where earth and heaven seemed to meet. This was Axum, the African empire that ruled the Red Sea and reached across the waters to southern Arabia. Long before it became an empire, Axum was a whisper among the highlands. Around the first millennium BCE, small communities settled the Tigray Plateau, farming, herding, and trading along the routes that connected the African interior to the coast. Here, African cultures met Arabian migrants who had crossed the narrow Bab el-Mandeb Strait, bringing new crops, tools, and writing. In that meeting of worlds, something powerful began to take root. The earliest known kingdom in this region was Damat, centered near Yeha. Its temples still stand, built of perfectly cut sandstone blocks, aligned with the sun and stars. When Damat faded around the 5th century BCE, its culture and people did not vanish. They evolved. Out of its ashes, centuries later, the Kingdom of Axum was born. By the 1st century CE, Axum had risen from a cluster of hilltop settlements into a city of stone and ambition. The landscape around it came alive with terraces, wells, and irrigation canals. Farmers cultivated teff, wheat, and barley, while traders moved gold, ivory, salt, and hides from the African interior toward the Red Sea. The port of Agilis, near modern-day Eritrea, became Axum's window to the world, a bustling harbour where Greek, Roman, Indian, and Arabian merchants bartered under the African sun. From Agilis, Axum reached outward. By the 2nd century CE, it was one of the great trading empires of the ancient world, a rival to Rome, Persia, and India. Its ships, powered by the monsoon winds, sailed the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. They carried African ivory prized in Roman arenas, gold for Byzantine crowns, and frankincense that perfumed the temples of Egypt and Arabia. Within Axum itself, power concentrated around divine kingship. The monarch was seen as chosen by the heavens, ruler of men and guardian of order. Each king sought to outshine his predecessor in stone and legend. Massive obelisks, carved from single pieces of granite, rose from the earth like frozen pillars of light. The tallest, once standing over 30 meters high, was said to mark the tomb of a great king. Even today, they pierce the sky, monuments to human will and craftsmanship. Axum's rulers adopted writing early. The Giz script, derived from South Arabian roots but transformed into something distinctively Ethiopian. Inscriptions in stone proclaimed victories and decrees, recording Axum's growing might. By the reign of King Gadarat, around 200 CE, the empire's influence stretched across the Red Sea into southern Arabia, controlling territories in Himyar and Saba in what is now Yemen. The Red Sea became Axum's royal highway, both a bridge and a weapon. Axum's golden age arrived in the 3rd and 4th century CE, under kings like Uzanas and Azana. Trade flourished. Axumite coinage, minted in gold, silver, and bronze, circulated from Africa to India. They bore the faces of kings, inscriptions in Greek, and symbols of the sun and moon, later replaced by the cross. These coins were more than currency. They were messages of power, carried by merchants and sailors across the known world. During King Azana's reign in the early 4th century, the empire reached its height. Azana expanded Axum's borders westward into Nubia, south into Agame and the Somali hinterlands, and north into Arabia. He crushed rebellions, secured trade routes, and ensured that Axum's name echoed from the African highlands to the halls of Byzantium. Then came a transformation that would define the empire for centuries. A young Syrian scholar, Frumentius, shipwrecked on the coast, rose to prominence in the royal court. Through him, Axum encountered Christianity. Moved by his teachings, King Ezana converted and proclaimed Christianity the official faith of the empire. It was one of the first great kingdoms in the world to do so, long before Europe's own monarchs would follow. Stone temples gave way to churches. Obelisks ceased to rise. The empire's coins replaced the crescent and disc with the cross, and the language of faith became woven into governance and identity. But Axum's Christianity was uniquely African, rooted in local rhythm and ritual, layered with ancient customs and reverence for nature. In the centuries that followed, Axum stood as a beacon between continents. Byzantine emperors recognized it as a fellow Christian power. Roman merchants sought its ivory and gold. And across the Red Sea, the kingdoms of Arabia both feared and admired its reach. In the early 6th century, Axum's destiny once again turned eastward. Its king, Caleb, waged a legendary campaign across the Red Sea. In southern Arabia, the Jewish Himyarite ruler Yusuf Dunuwas had persecuted Christians in Najran. Caleb, calling himself the servant of Christ, launched an invasion to avenge them. Axumite armies crossed the water, conquered Himyar, and installed a viceroy, briefly turning southern Arabia into an Axumite protectorate. At its height, Axum was more than an African empire. It was a Red Sea superpower, controlling both shores from Agilis to the mountains of Yemen. Its reach was immense, its ships known in every harbor between Egypt and India. For a time, the empire seemed untouchable. But history, like the sea, is never still. In the 7th century, new powers arose across Arabia. A new faith, Islam, began to spread with unstoppable momentum, reshaping trade, culture, and belief across the region. The Red Sea, once an Axumite domain, became a frontier of new alliances and rivalries. Yet the story of Axum and Islam did not begin in war, but in refuge. When the first followers of the Prophet Muhammad fled persecution in Mecca, they crossed the sea seeking safety. They found it in Axum. The Christian king, remembered as the Negus, offered them protection. He refused to betray them to their pursuers. In Islamic tradition, this king became known as Ashama ibn Abjar, the just ruler who shielded the oppressed. It was a moment of compassion that echoed through faith and time, a meeting of two religions at the dawn of history. But the tides of commerce were changing. Islamic powers began to dominate the Red Sea trade routes. The ports once filled with Axumite ships grew silent as trade shifted toward the Persian Gulf. The empire's economic lifeline began to weaken. As trade faded, so did power. The forests that had once supplied timber for ships were stripped bare. The soil, overworked for generations, lost its fertility. Political fragmentation followed. By the 8th century, Axum's influence had retreated from the coast into the interior highlands. Arab chronicles mention Axum less and less. The once great port of Agilis disappeared beneath sand and silence. The empire that had minted gold coins and ruled kingdoms across the sea became isolated, its cities fading into memory. By the 10th century, Axum's time as an imperial power had ended. But its legacy, its faith, its language, its script endured. The Christian kingdom that rose in the Ethiopian highlands, known as the Zagwe dynasty, would carry forward Axum's torch. Its kings would trace their descent from Axumite rulers, and its churches, carved into living rock at Lalibela, would echo the architectural and spiritual genius of the empire that came before. Today, the city of Axum is quiet. Its streets hum with modern life, but beneath them lie the bones of kings and the ruins of temples. The great stelae still stand, weathered, scarred, but defiant. Their surfaces bear inscriptions no rain can erase, their shadows stretching long across the highland sun. The Church of St. Mary of Zion stands near the ancient ruins, said by local tradition to house the Ark of the Covenant itself, a legend that binds Axum's sacred past to the mythic heart of the Abrahamic world. The Giz language, once the tongue of emperors, still lives in scripture and liturgy. And the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, one of the oldest in existence, carries forward the faith first declared under King Ezana more than 16 centuries ago. The empire of Axum was not a shadow of others, it was a creator of worlds. It linked Africa to Arabia, the Mediterranean to India. It stood as a bridge between civilizations, a meeting point of trade and faith, of mountain and sea. Its story reminds us that Africa was not isolated, but central, a continent that shaped and was shaped by the ancient world. Axum's ships crossed waters that connected continents. Its kings corresponded with emperors. Its faith endured where others vanished. And though its empire fell, its memory did not. It survives in stone, in song, in scripture, and in the quiet endurance of a people who remember what once was. If you walk the highlands today, the wind still hums through the grass. The sun falls over the obelisks, their shadows long against the red earth. Somewhere, a priest chants in Giz, words older than most nations, carried through time from the empire that once ruled these lands. Axum is gone, but not lost. It sleeps beneath the soil and breathes through the living. An empire of stone and faith, whose echo still rolls across the mountains, reminding the world that once, in the heart of Africa, stood a power that ruled the seas between worlds and touched eternity. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to keep history alive. Your support helps us to uncover more stories of the empires the world forgot.